I am 95 years old today, and today I want to talk about something many people my age don't like to talk about: depression. At this stage of life, people expect you to talk about wisdom, about gratitude, about legacy. They don't expect you to say, "I struggled." But the truth is, depression does not belong to one age. It does not only visit the young. It does not only come when you fail. It does not only come when you succeed. Depression can meet you at any phase of life. And sometimes the hardest part is not the pain. It is not knowing what is happening to you. I want to tell you how depression quietly took some of the most valuable years of my life, and how, slowly, I learned to take them back. I was 20 years old when I started working as an attendant at St. Gabriel's Medical Center in Chicago. It was my first real job. I was young, strong, and proud of myself. I worked long shifts in the emergency department. If you've ever seen an emergency room, you know it is not a calm place. People come in crying, bleeding, shouting. Sometimes they leave alive. Sometimes they don't leave at all. You grow up very fast in a place like that. One winter, just a few days before Christmas, there was a school bombing on the south side of the city. It was on the news everywhere. The hospital went into full emergency mode. All staff were called in. Leaves were cancelled, mine too. I remember the sirens. I remember the stretchers lining the hallways. Children, teenagers, teachers. Some with broken bones, some burned, some unconscious. There are images your mind never forgets, no matter how old you get. In the middle of that chaos, I saw a little girl. She couldn't have been older than 8. Her name was Emily. Her face was untouched, soft, innocent, almost peaceful. But from the waist down, her body was severely burned. One of her legs had been partially amputated. I remember standing there, frozen. How does a child survive something like that? How does a child wake up into that new reality? We treated her for weeks. Against all odds, she survived. She was strong, stronger than many adults I had seen. Eventually, she was discharged, scarred, changed, but alive. Life in the hospital moved on. New patients, new emergencies, new tragedies, but something inside me did not move on. At first, I didn't notice the change. I just felt tired. Not physically tired, something deeper. I didn't feel like talking much anymore. I stopped joking with the nurses. I stopped going out with friends after work. I would come home and sit in my room in the dark. Not crying, not thinking clearly either. Just sitting. My best friend back then was Daniel. One evening, he looked at me and said, "What happened to you?" I laughed it off. "I'm fine," I told him. "I'm strong. I go to the gym. I eat healthy. I can handle this job." But strength on the outside does not mean peace on the inside. I began to lose focus. Simple tasks felt heavy. I avoided certain wards in the hospital because I didn't want to see children. I stopped visiting my parents as often. Even when I was sitting with them, I wasn't really there. Something in me had cracked, and I was fighting it alone because I didn't even know what it was. One afternoon, after a shift that felt longer than usual, I sat in my car and realized I didn't want to go inside my apartment. Not because I had somewhere else to be. I just didn't want to face the silence. That was the moment I knew something was wrong. A week later, I made an appointment with a psychiatrist, Dr. Michael Turner. I almost cancelled it twice, but I went. After listening to me for nearly an hour, he said gently, You're experiencing mild depression. Mild. The word surprised me. If this was mild, what did severe feel like? I had always thought depression meant you couldn't get out of bed, that you cried all day, that you couldn't function. But I was functioning. I was working. I was lifting weights. I was smiling when required. And still, I was not okay. That appointment changed something. Not overnight, not dramatically, but it gave a name to the fog I was living in. And once something has a name, you can begin to face it. I went home and thought very seriously about my life. I realized I had been absorbing pain every single day without releasing it. I had convinced myself that being strong meant not feeling, that being a man meant carrying it quietly. But pain doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It settles, it builds, and one day it begins to leak into everything. I decided I could not live like that, so I made small changes, not dramatic ones, not heroic ones, small ones. I forced myself to go for a walk every morning, even when I didn't feel like it. I returned to the gym, not to build muscle, but to move the heaviness out of my body. I started cooking simple meals instead of skipping dinner. I accepted invitations from Daniel, even when I wanted to say no. And most importantly, I stopped sitting alone in the dark. Depression feeds on isolation. It grows in overthinking. The more you sit and replay scenes in your mind, scenes from the past, fears about the future, the deeper you sink. Overthinking and depression are closely connected. The more you imagine worst-case scenarios, the more real they begin to feel. Your brain does not always distinguish between imagination and reality. If you feed it fear long enough, it believes the fear is happening now. I learned that action interrupts overthinking. Movement interrupts darkness. You may not feel like moving, but if you wait to feel motivated, you might wait forever. So I built a routine. Wake up, work, exercise, eat properly, sleep properly. And I gave myself something I did not have before. Purpose. If you don't have a purpose, find one. Create one, even a small one. A goal to improve something, to learn something, to help someone. Purpose gives direction to your pain. Slowly, not in days but in months, the fog began to lift. Now I am 95, and here is something interesting. Many people expect old age to be the most depressing phase of life. You lose friends, you lose your spouse, your body weakens, the house becomes quieter. Yes, I lost my wife 10 years ago. Yes, many of my friends are gone. Yes, my hands tremble when I hold a cup, but I am not depressed, not because I am lucky, because I protect my routine like it is medicine. Every morning I wake up early. I go for a slow walk around my neighborhood. The same streets, the same trees. I greet the same mailman. Small consistency matters. Then I attend morning prayers at the small church near my home, St. Andrew's Chapel. My faith has become an anchor. When you feel connected to something bigger than your own thoughts, your problems shrink to their true size. After prayer, I return home. The house is quiet. My children have their own lives. My grandchildren are busy growing up. This is the hour when depression could knock on my door. Silence is dangerous if you don't know how to use it. So I paint. I started painting at 82. Why so late? Because I needed something new. My hands shake due to essential tremors. Straight lines are impossible for me. When I try to paint a horizontal line, it curves. When I try to paint a circle, it becomes something else entirely. None of my paintings are perfect, but they are mine. And when I sit in front of a blank canvas, my mind focuses. The strange thoughts fade, the what-ifs disappear, the regrets soften. When I show my paintings to my grandchildren, they smile. Not because the art is extraordinary, but because they see joy in my eyes. That joy protects me. In the afternoons, I sometimes watch a thoughtful series, stories that teach something meaningful. In the evenings, I call a friend or visit one, even if I feel lazy. Sometimes I am not in the mood, sometimes I skip a day, but I never quit the routine. Routine is not boring. Routine is stability. Depression thrives in chaos. It grows when your days have no shape. Give your day a shape. Even now, I eat dinner at the same time. I prepare simple meals. I clean up after myself. I go for another short walk before sunset. People think discipline is for the young. No, discipline is what keeps the old alive inside. If you are listening to me and you are young, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, I want you to understand something. Do not wait until you are broken to take your mental health seriously. Do not believe that going to a therapist makes you weak. Do not believe that being strong means staying silent. And do not underestimate mild depression. It steals quietly. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just slowly removes color from your life. If you feel different, if you feel disconnected, if joy feels distant, talk to someone. Move your body, build a routine, create a purpose. And please, do not isolate yourself. Call a friend. Step outside. Do something, even if you don't feel like it. Especially if you don't feel like it. At 95, I have learned this. Life will not stop teaching you until your last breath. Pain will visit you in different forms. Loss will change you, but you must decide whether you will sit in the darkness or stand up, even slowly, and turn on a small light. You do not need to conquer depression in one day. You only need to refuse to surrender to it today. That is enough. And before I end, I want to ask you something. Who among you follows a daily routine? What keeps you steady when your mind feels heavy? Share it. Speak about it. Someone younger or older might need to hear your method. In the next conversation, we can talk about purpose after retirement and how to rebuild meaning when life changes unexpectedly. Until then, protect your mind, protect your routine, and remember, strength is not the absence of struggle. It is the decision to continue despite it.